Welcome everybody, welcome back to the Sunday Spotlight, and tonight we are playing Roadwarden, what appears to be the debut effort, possibly very early effort, of the studio Moral Anxiety, which is a hell of a name for a studio, to be sure. It came out back in September. I couldn't find out much about the developer. Clicking on the developer leads directly to the publisher. Going to assume it's a like I said, I'm going to assume it's a first title for theirs. It's a kind of visual novel slash sort of RPG. Hang on, I think I need to mute Discord there. My apologies. Yeah, it's kind of a combination of visual novel, text adventure, role-playing game. You play the titular Roadwarden, where it appears there's no real big plot per se, so much as kind of a series of adventures that happen. Your role is basically to patrol the roads in like this kind of some kind of like fantasy environment. It's like stock fantasy elements and such, but kind of in a very grounded sense. So let's jump into it and we'll kind of see what I mean. Yeah, here we go. So, everyone knows to stay away from the wilderness. Most people would never risk a lonely journey. Roadwardens not only accept this struggle, they embrace it. They deliver messages, assist merchants, burn human corpses, and if possible, get rid of the beasts and highwaymen. They live on the road, die young, or retire early. It's a dangerous job, but a respectable one, and it pays well. So, yeah, if you say I still have my doubts, it actually just takes you right back to the main menu. So, let's jump right into it. Let us leave the safety of the city walls and see what exactly we can see how well they pay us for this. So yeah, I don't know quite what to expect from the difficulty levels here. So yeah, there appears to be a 40-day time limit for the campaign with standard or regular rule set. This kind of gives you some idea of what to expect. So on casual, there's no time limit. You have more cash. Some quests are more forgiving. On restrictive, so it's a 30-day time limit. More damage at nighttime. We'll stick with standard for the time being. This will be mostly a text-based adventure with some illustrations of what exactly we're doing. So those of you that tend to put this on while you're doing something else, tonight is your lucky night. So yeah, here we go. The wall is still standing. There are no wolves around. No stench of blood. Good signs. This should be the place you're looking for. You're supposed to meet with a group of soldiers, but you hear no voices, no sounds of labor. The gate is ajar, but the camp isn't safe. It may keep away the goblins and pebblers, but not beast folk nor trolls, and the night is near. Your palfrey breathes heavily. It's had a long day. So yeah, they're kind of throwing you right into some kind of fantasy environment. They're not explaining a whole lot. Palfrey, I believe, is your mount. They could sort of treat it like a horse, so we definitely have like monsters and such running around. And our job as a road warden is essentially to be a linking element between settlements in some kind of... Oh, hey, Orange! Thanks for the sub. Good to see you. Hope you're having a good night out there. But anyway, yeah, so we got here at the fort. We don't know quite what to expect here, so we've got some options. We'll say... Let's look around, cautiously. Considering the noise, you doubt that anyone noticed the clatter of hooves. The short, dry grasses barely cover the arid soil of this valley, but you're maybe a minute away from the edge of the sparse woods, which get denser as they climb up the hills. At best, this trail has a few more years before getting overgrown for good. Hard to believe it's the only route north. Well, let's take a look inside. So yeah, you do have some RPG elements over here, so yeah, our vitality element, we have a timer here. If your herder exhausted, some actions won't be available to you, so you'll be making decisions along the way, some minor, some major, and I don't know if there's any kind of overarching plot so much as a series of things that happen. My impression is it's kind of more the latter, but anyway, your heavy boots hit the ground and the pain of the long ride finally catches up with you. You stretch out, bringing your back and legs comfort. All you want now is a table, a decent chair, a nice mug of beer, and some warm stew. With any luck, your axe won't be needed here. Slowly approach the gate. If it's a military camp, it doesn't look the part. Plenty of wasted space. The fire pit is cold. Two people are sitting at the table, tired and disheartened. They're looking in different directions, paying no attention to one another. One of them is holding a cup. After a moment, you notice the quiet humming. You recognize the melody of a light-hearted drinking song from a city harbor. So, yeah, I guess we'll go say hello to these people. They don't look like much of a threat. I can enter. It takes them a few breaths to glance in your direction. The first person greets you with a wave of his hand. There are bags under his eyes. His beard is messy. Despite his simple shirt, he's wearing durable, decent boots. A mace, with a head covered in iron, hangs at his side, but he doesn't reach for it. Take a look at the second soul. Just like you, she's wearing a gambeson, but hers is a bit loose, as if she took it off a corpse. Her head is shaven, as if she's protecting herself from flesh-eating bugs. Her eyes are weary, yet kind. She smiles. Considering the squad was sent here half a year ago, these two surely look the part, though there should be more of them. 8, you believe. So, guess we'll ask them about their lieutenant. You wonder how to phrase her question. So yeah, we've got a few different tones we can take with the dialogue here. So yeah, if we click on this, it'll show you specifically what you'll say. So friendly, I was hoping to meet with your lieutenant. Can we talk for a bit? You can start with a joke or be like lighthearted. I'm sure you're busy, so if you could just introduce me, or just be curt and to the point. So yeah, we'll keep things. Let's see, we'll keep things relatively above board for now. The woman lets out a loud sigh, dusts off her gambeson, and steps toward you. She pays little attention to the sword at her side. We most definitely can, you and I, though holding this rank is still somewhat new to me. Are you a messenger? Did you lose your mount? She observes you with curiosity. Or are you looking for help? What if I want to be Craig? Well, maybe you can. Anything goes in a fantasy environment. I'm your new Roadwarden. My horse is waiting outside. Really? The soldier in the shirt leans forward. That explains how you got here in one piece, all by yourself. Better bring your beast here, adds the lieutenant. We have no hay, but I bet it dreams of dropping its saddle. I'm Tulia, by the way. She reaches out her hand. So, we can... Maybe a trap, I gesture for her to stop, pretending to be embarrassed. I should wash myself first. Well, we will be cordial. This is the pre-COVID era. Handshakes aren't lethal yet. So... let's see. We can actually name our character. I shall be... Oh, I've always wanted to do this. Sir, I say, sir. Her grasp is confident. The shake is slight. Just keep your horse away from the tents. She steps away. We don't need to smell its dung. Ah, there's this one issue. The soldier in the shirt also rises to his feet. We've no tent to spare. You'll have to use your blanket or something. I should get used to sleeping on the ground anyway. You walk through the gate. Your mount looks around and snorts anxiously. Not many humans could ride a horse. It's not only taller than you, but also bulky, as heavy as it is strong. You can get in the saddle within a single breath, but most people wouldn't know where to even begin. From every side, it's a wall of flesh. Horses were brought to the Dragonwoods from the conquests in the south. They can trot for a long time, but won't outrun some of the local monsters. Your palfrey needs you to survive, but without it, you too would be lost. So again, we know very, very little about the environment. Like, even on the store page, they're kind of very vague about what world you're being dropped in. There's not a lot of lore given to you at the start with. You sort of learn it as you go. So, we will treat our horse/companion with the dignity they deserve. I want it to feel at ease. It takes a few steps towards you, scolding you with another snort. You scratch the bottom of its neck, with strength and confidence, just the way it likes it. Humans see useful animals, and even pets, as monsters in disguise. Getting emotionally attached to them is believed to lead humans to their doom. But you know that horses need companionship. I speak to it gently and lead it to the camp. You end up next to the fire pit. Removing the saddle makes the horse nicker with relief. You take a couple minutes to examine its back, just in case. While the riding equipment is not that heavy for such a strong animal, with enough time it starts to chafe. You wish it had something better to eat than this shabby grass. You should look for an inn. Okay, so here we start determining what type of character we have, and there are 3 archetypes here. So, you haven't brought many things, and you lost one of the sacks while fleeing the Crimson Corpse Eaters. That's, mildly concerning. Worst of all, you have no rope left, but maybe the soldiers could share one. Shouldn't cost more than a dragon bone. Aside from the travel set, you own a few valuable possessions essential for your trade. So yeah, we have the Fighter, Mage, Scholar paths, one obviously suited for combat encounters, one suited for magical things, one for more intellectual stuff. So if we click on this, you get a little more explanation. So yeah, the fighter has an easier time with physical challenges. The weakness is their reliance on physical strength. Special abilities won't be available if your vitality drops to 0. The mage uses a pneuma, a versatile but limited pool of energy points that can be spent to cast a few humble spells. It won't protect you better than a sharp axe, but you'll be able to heal faster while resting, detect magic in a mysterious area, distract the beast with a simple trick, and find a common tongue with other magic users. To use their powers too freely, you won't have the points where you need them most. The Scholar will know more about the world's mysteries than you, helping you take advantage of some unusual situations. Your character will impress the locals, you'll be able to read the sparse, written clues without anyone's assistance. Scholars struggle with combat more than the other classes. With enough carefulness and exploration, you'll gain access to alchemical mixtures that'll help you escape from many dangerous situations. So this is kind of interesting. Rather than a fighter mage thief thing, you basically have two different flavors of educated traveler. One more familiar with the lore and information about the world, one more with practical uses for their talents in the form of magic. So we'll play a scholar because I think that'll probably give us a better idea of what kind of fresh hell we just dropped into. So yeah, you unpack and inspect your belongings. Your water skin isn't pierced, the spare clothes are still here just in case. Okay, I see that. You take a look at your wooden bowl and mug, your cape, your tinderbox, bandages, food rations, knife, nothing special or too cumbersome. From time to time, your routine helps you avoid mistakes, but this doesn't make it any more exciting. So yeah, this is keeping track of all the things we have, which isn't much. We do have a simple battle axe, we've got some food rations and supplies, all sorts of useful tools. So, writing instruments. This is unique to the Scholar, I believe. Most people in the Dragonwoods don't need to know how to read or write. The lessons are time-consuming and often expensive. The exchange of written text is practiced among people who need to create complex, exact documents and keep them in good condition for the years, or even centuries. This group includes priests, lawyers, inventors, officials, richer merchants, and higher-ranking military chieftains. Less than 10% of society is literate, and the major part of this group lives in the cities. So yeah, we're kind of in the hinterlands of this, wherever the hell we are, and whatever kind of fantasy environment we're dealing with here. So the handful of people that are going to be literate are going to be in positions of leadership or some prestige or something. So not a lot of that on the road, but you never know when that might be useful. So anyway, return to the soldiers. Okay, taking hits will damage your armor. You can then fix it in various settlements. They're at the table again, observing your beast and chatting between themselves. Your stomach growls at the sight of them eating out of wooden bowls. One more bowl was put at a previously unused end of the table. You can sit down on a tree log. Let's see. Join them and take a look at the meal. Yeah, why not? We'll try to be sociable here. It's cold gruel, the meal eaten in times of hardship. This specific bowl is filled with water, hog mullet, some strange-looking cereals, and blueberries. Welcoming you with a meal, even a humble one, is beyond their duty. Soldiers live with and for their companions, constantly on the move from one part of the realm to another, making sacrifices to protect their group as they face dozens of hideous creatures. Their lives are filled with discipline, hardship, and camaraderie. Roadwardens, on the other hand, learn how to work by themselves. They seldom engage in open combat, patrolling the same roads for years. They help the settlement stay in touch, but also maintain commerce, settle down, forge friendships. Where there are no laws to follow, they use their own judgment. Different responsibilities, different lifestyles. So yeah, keeping your stomach full will make you stronger, so we do have hunger to worry about. So that will be an issue as we proceed. I eat quickly, not focusing on the taste. Then speak with Tulia. She's focused and chooses her words carefully. She looks away only when she gathers her thoughts. I'm afraid I can tell you less than I would like to, and less than I should. She nods to the other soldier. As you can see, there's not a lot of us left. At the beginning of summer, there were 8 of us, including our previous lieutenant. 5 are dead, 1 has run away in tears. We're also strangers to this land, in this land. So, this indicates... you notice that it's highlighting individual people here. I don't think there's anything you can actually click on here. Oh, that was me right-clicking, brings up the inventory. Interesting. Might as well quick save. So yeah, it just kind of indicates when they are singling out different people as part of a conversation. So obviously you can see it's a very simple visual style, but they do nice little things to keep it readable as you proceed. Anyway, any piece of information may help me do the job. The man leans forward, his legs shake nervously. He sounds like a kid asking a bard to sing one more story, tell a joke, or do a magic trick. Whatever it takes to escape from boredom. His untrimmed beard hides a much younger face than you originally thought. What do the officials tell you? I expect not that much. No soul governs these lands. I share what I consider to be relevant. You tell the soldiers how little guidance you've received. Since this area is too far away from Havlavan to keep it under control, you were warned that it's untamed and unknown. Who knows how many villages, bandits, or monsters may be found on these unmapped hills and forests. From time to time, new people come here to look for boundless opportunities. Most never return. Do they turn into walking corpses, or find what they're looking for? That was a different button, I swear it wasn't the game. Yeah. Hey. This is what I live for. Experiences that I don't quite know what to expect. Games that I don't quite know what to expect from. Anyway, no soul could tell me, so I was looking for your guidance. The lieutenant drinks from her cup and crosses her legs, ankle on knee. Seeing her chair makes you doubt she'll ever find a comfortable position. Where should we start? Okay, yeah, so now we can start asking what's going on here, and before I continue my journey, I should ask them about the peninsula, the Roadwarden, and the rope. So the rest appear to be optional. So, yeah, we'll ask about the peninsula. I'll tell you what I know, and you'll be the judge, says the lieutenant. How long did it take you to get here from the city? On a decent palfrey, I'd guess it would be 3-4 days. When you confirm, she continues. From here, you can reach the coast in about a day, as long as you don't make any stops. Do you know the situation? Why no ships can get here? You nod. The sea route allows Havlavan officials to keep in touch with the coastal villages, collect taxes, move the soldiers, collect lumber, deliver tools, but maintaining order on a wild coast, such as this one, is like filling the ocean depths with coins. Because of the rocks, you can hardly stop a ship 5 miles from the shore, and boats can't get much closer. She nods. I don't know much about fishing, but there's not that many people living by the shore. They don't crave to stay in touch with the city folk. As she pauses, her companion carries on. No soul from the north ever came to the camp, but when we travel to the roadside inn, Pelt of the North, they're happy to trade and to play dice. Why not just stay at one of the settlements? The man clears his throat. I mean, you know, we're to guard this road. This camp is our post. And, well... She now turns toward Tulia. She lowers her voice. Don't take this the wrong way, sir. I say, sir, but are you a devout soul? Okay, so now we're getting to define our theological beliefs here. So, I believe that people should unite their strength to overcome threats. I'm part of the United Church. For many years, I've supported a monastery that does its best to advance mankind's spiritual growth, the Order of Truth. I'm from a small village. For me, the freedom of shell, pneuma, and soul, the main virtues of life. I have place in my fellowship. I have a strong connection to nature and spirits. I follow the path of my ancestors. You'd probably call me a pagan. There's no evidence of the right's existence, and all the mystical tales are explained by magic. No, I'm not. So yeah, are you a devout soul? Do we believe, and what do we believe? We don't really know anything about these other than the broad strokes. This is what city people believe. This is a cloistered monastery. These are what the common folk in the hinterlands believe. Well, hard to say. We will say not. The man nods. I've heard that most Roadwardens drift away from the churches. I did indeed, sir. I did indeed. Glad someone got that. Anyway, it doesn't matter to me, to neither of us, I think, adds the lieutenant, peeping at her companion. I just wanted to make sure I won't step on any touchy subject. You won't. Go ahead. The people here are disquieting. Every few words, she taps the table with her finger. Their traditions won't help them negotiate with the officials. Here, she starts to draw lines with her index finger, as if she's pointing to an invisible map. The peninsula is connected with roads, like a big circle. In the northwest, you'll find a weird village at a bog. It's not exactly pagan, I don't think. It even has a priest who claims to be an eremite. You nod. She means a fellowship. They do crazy shit, her companion chips in. They use the dead to cut down trees and dig in soil. Once I saw it, I begged to never return there. Would be being devout or not get me murdered by you? That's an important question, exactly, yeah. Decisions have consequences. I hear you, Karen, I hear you loud and clear. Anyway, you've heard tales such as this one since you were a child. If an isolated settlement manages to survive without a city's influence, its customs and traditions grow more and more alien. Every generation learns how to adapt to the dangerous conditions they have to deal with, and the rustic, pagan traditions muddy their river of faith. The United Church often warns its members about the crazy druids, necromancers, and blood mages, the bringers of doom, the traitors to humankind. Yeah, it probably should have been Sire, I say Sire, but yeah, I was just going with Foghorn Leghorn there. That was one of my earliest fun little gags with renaming a character. Anyway, let's see. You're able to speak with necromancers. How about the East? Any monster worth mentioning? Yeah, we'll ask about that. We saw all sorts of beasts. The man starts to count on his fingers. Goblins, treants, cats large and small, runners, howlers, wolves, spike boars, mouflon eaters. I don't know if that's a real word or not. Griffins. But we managed to stay away. Some could catch up with most mounts. Tulia glances at her companion. Though a palfrey should be fine. The trees are so tall that the flying creatures keep to the coast and mountains. There's not that many humans around. The animals are busy fighting among themselves. They fight more for food than territory. The soldier cracks his knuckles. Don't provoke them and ride fast. Just count on luck. Let's see. Yeah, Branch gets it. Anyway, were you able to speak with any of these necromancers? You can see why we were not eager to go there if we could avoid it, the lieutenant chuckles. Maybe they'll be more welcoming to a Roadwarden. The roads are dangerous, with little to no shelters. People need your help. The man in the shirt turns a bit and points a finger to the northwest. If you're heading to the undead village, you'll get to an inn first, and soon. Tulia nods. Pelt to the north is a safe place. You can talk with the innkeeper, the guards, ask them about the road. And how about the east? She stares off across the camp. Hard to tell. We went there only once. There were hills, forests, rivers. We saw tunnels sculpted in leaves and branches, but we didn't enter it. Wilderness all around. Okay. So what happened to your previous Roadwarden? Tulia takes a breath. Aren't you a bit late for a rescue mission? We haven't heard from him for almost half a year. The soldiers speak a bit between themselves, trying to get their story straight. They confirm that he had stopped by their camp a few times, but stopped showing up at all in early summer. The bearded soldier starts to scratch the table with the tip of his knife, without looking at you. I don't remember his voice. Always busy, drowning in things to take care of. He would sit somewhere, sharpen his sword, fix his loud mail, clean clothes, write notes on that wax tablet of his. Yep, and leave at dawn. Unlike us, Asteria never gets bored. Tulia lets out a joyless chuckle. He's secretive, but some of the locals speak about him warmly. Maybe he just doesn't like us. Sounds like you're not sure if he's dead or not. If anyone knows, they won't tell us. Maybe someone is keeping him in a basement. The man carves with passion. We haven't seen him, or his Saurian. Something ate them, I bet. The officials have hired you, right? They don't expect him to return. Richer Roadwardens often use four-legged, meat-eating Saurians as their mounts. They have to be tamed and trained since they're hatching, but unlike horses, can easily defend themselves from many monsters. At least your palfrey is fast and reliable, and won't suddenly sink his teeth into an innocent passerby. So this is kind of sounding a little bit like... This is sounding like the Elder Scrolls. That kind of environment. Like, I think they had, like, reptilian beasts that were kind of used as pack animals. I'm trying to remember the name. But, yeah, that's basically the level of weird we're dealing with here. Do you know what he was looking for? Maybe he left you a message? Neither one of us had any insight into his dealings, said Tulia. My predecessor left me no clues. We also took a look at Asterian's stuff. Wait! She raises her open palm. I almost forgot. She stands up and heads to a nearby tent. He has kids, in a village near Hovlavan. I was planning to take all his things there. A pouch, a second spear, decent bow, some potions. Quite a treasure. But I would much prefer to bring them to the truth about their father. So you want me to find out what happened to him in exchange for his stuff? Here's the catch. She dusts off the hilt of her sword. We've hired a messenger to ask the commanders for further orders. Said she hasn't returned and you know nothing about her. She either ran away or something happened to her. She sighs with resignation. We're meant to stay here until fall. What do you think? Come see us. Tell us what you learned about the man. And we'll get back to Hovland together. You think about your real mission. You're planning to return to Hovlavan in the early fall anyway. If he's alive, I don't think he's going to be happy about me taking away all his possessions. True, but he's considered dead. I doubt he'll begrudge you anything. And who knows, you may just find his shell lying on the roadside tomorrow. He wears mail, uses a spear mostly, maybe 5 feet tall, but stout. Long red beard, short hair, pale face, rarely smiles. She glances at her companion, but after he adds nothing, she sits down and stretches out her legs. So find out what happened to him. Dead, alive, left, just let me know. So yeah, now we have an actual quest here to find the previous Roadwarden, a man named Asterion. So we get his stuff if we can find out about him. Anyway, what happened to your squad? Bandits happened, and monsters. A strong band, though, his companion chips in. When we got to the peninsula in the spring, we saw some people living in this camp. The lieutenant decided to avoid it and look for an inn. We had to travel through the night for a bit. The bearded soldier scoffs and crosses his arms, but she carries on. If he had decided otherwise, we would have all died that day. The innkeeper explained that the camp is a trap, that the armed ones pretend to be soldiers. Stay there at night, lose everything you have. Sounds like slave hunters. Very much so. They killed some, took others away, who knows where. They were letting the northerners go, hoping to avoid their wrath. It kind of worked, adds the soldier. We asked them for help, but they refused. We had to clear the entire camp on our own, and that's why 3 of our people died. Don't exaggerate, it's not like the lieutenant didn't make a mistake. He wanted to get rid of them and take over their camp. We didn't know our enemy well enough. We were outnumbered, they had an ice mage among them. She looks at you. At least we cleared the road, saved lives. You mentioned monsters as well? Nothing that would surprise you. To those of us who survived the skirmish were young, too inexperienced to spend a summer in this place without a good leader, and they didn't trust me. One of them got caught by a treant. Another ignored my orders to perform some sort of ritual hunt, so a werebear tore her to pieces. The last one tried to act tough, didn't tell us that he'd cut his hand while cleaning his gambeson. We had to cut it off, and he was so ashamed that he decided to walk north, find a new life, disappear. Idiot. What a colorful journey. The man tries to drink from his mug, but it's empty. So yeah, this is setting a really interesting low fantasy tone here, where a lot of bad things can happen, some from obviously fantastical, otherwise supernatural means, some from typical low fantasy stuff like bandits or highwaymen, and some from just the dull day-to-day dangers that are present in a world that exists before antibiotics, modern medicine, dentistry, and such. So there's a lot going on here, but mostly this is just painting a picture for us of what we can expect as we go forward. Anyway, you've made this place safer. Barely. Tulia seems tired. And who knows if it was worth the lives and the effort. I should need to ask them about the rope. Yeah, let's do that. Can you spare a rope? You're in luck. She heads toward one of the crates and moves aside a large linen sack, revealing a rope. She brings it back and nonchalantly sits down in her chair. Take it. I was planning to leave it behind. Alright. Fine rope. Thank you much. I take it and offer some food in return. Yeah, why not? What do we have? Looks like a couple of food things there. Sure. Tulia leans forward and rests her forearms on her thighs, looking down with clasped hands, then meets your eyes. I'd normally refuse, but we need some decent food. Every day I'm searching through our groats, looking for worms and putridity. We forage, but it's not a great spot. Some food rations will brighten up a foggy day. For now, you leave the rope on the table. Anything I should know about this camp? The story is brief. Some merchants built the camp to have an extra stop for mules and donkeys, just between the inn and southern villages. There's plenty of grass here and a pond nearby. When the peninsula grew more dangerous, the camp stood abandoned, from time to time serving as a shelter for travelers. The bandits came here in the spring, further paralyzing the exchange of information between the northern and southern settlements. Since these highwaymen are no more, the situation may reverse. Time will tell. You can sleep here whenever you want, the man concludes their tale, so don't expect to wake up without pain in your back. If you were me, where would you go next? The soldier answers quickly. To the inn, of course. Grabs his empty mug. The one northwest from here. If you can't afford the room, the main hall is free of charge. The locals rarely gather there. Their northern road is much more traveled, mentions Tulia, but the hunters will tell you about this and that, and you'll have a chance to introduce yourself. The innkeeper can listen, and knows many souls. Any tips on how I can make a good first impression? Avoid cheap jokes, stick to trade, don't waste his time. Show him that you can be relied on. Alright, let's proceed then. Quick save, just in case. Are you sure? Says the bearded man. We may not be around the next time you come through here. We should prepare for the night anyway. I agree, Tulia sighs with relief. And may you do better than Asterion did. Stay vigilant, she winks at you, shattering the mask of a soldier. Thank you for your help. Okay, so it looks like you can look back through conversations with the archive here. That's very helpful. One more thing, if I can. The bearded man approaches you. Can you take the first watch? Splitting time between 3 people makes a great difference. You think for a moment. to fully rest, you'd need a good sleep. So, we're in pretty good shape. These are first people we've met. We'll help them out. Why? Leave it to me. Fabulous, he pats your shoulder. It should be calm, at least before midnight. Wake me up in a few hours or even earlier if anything happens. Happy to do my part. Try to be chipper, try to bring some civilization out here. Manners maketh the Roadwarden. You go to the barrel and splash water on your face, which makes you even more aware of how much you need a bath. After the night, it will only get worse. It will get worse. Your horse is already napping, still too anxious to lie down. Prepare for my watch. Oh, so we actually... Okay, so appearance is also a meter. Great. So cleanliness really is going to matter as well. Okay, the soldier in the shirt is eager to guide you. Just observe the area. There's plenty of griffins around, though they probably won't try to jump over the palisade. Probably. Better watch out for the apes. They climb up and carry out any food they find. There's this one really loud were-elk that keeps smelling the wall, though it has never tried to get in. He points at a gate. The lieutenant and I will block the entrances. They're quite heavy, so if anyone comes here looking for shelter, better call us to help you out. And if this someone is being chased by wolves or anything, better throw them the rope instead. He scratches his head. If it gets cold, feel free to make a fire. The best place is on the watchtower. You may want to put a blanket there or something. Oh, hey, thanks, miss. I appreciate that. He gives you a long, puzzled look. Oh, here. He points at the pile of crates. Just climb up to the tallest one. You'll have a great view of the northern side. Okay, so they're talking about this. That's their watchtower. Fantastic. You'll have a great view of the northern side, the more dangerous side. And also, I know you're tired after all that riding. He points at the tent on the other side of the camp. I can handle a couple hours sleeping on the ground if you wish. And if you wish, go there after me and rest just this once. At least I'll have a pallet inside. Why not? We will take him up on his generosity. Thanks a lot. You put your blanket on the tallest crate and sit down. The night is warm, but sporadic summer breeze brings gentle refreshment. From time to time, your back aches, and you have to force yourself to keep your eyes open. The light of the moon helps you focus on the tall grasses. For most of the time, you spot smaller critters and birds, but there are exceptions. At one point, you see 3-horned deer trying to challenge one another. Before they clash their antlers, a 2-legged dragonling appears. It's leading its much smaller offspring. The furry beasts try to intimidate their predators with roars and aggressive head movements. After a few moments, both sides walk away slowly, not willing to risk the fight nor admit to their defeat. You hear the death screams of distant prey and the mating calls of monkeys. Runners are chasing a gray hare. A group of musk oxen lazily chew the grass, preparing themselves to sleep. A dusk fox is running together with a lynx, making playful screeches. Thankfully, you never have to intervene. You just sit there, watching the not-so-distant forest, trying to outlast your sleepiness. You can only guess how much time has passed. Once you feel you've had enough, you climb down and go to a tent, waking up the bearded man with just a couple of words. You confirm that nothing important has happened. So yeah, let's get some rest. Sleeping in a tent is not the stuff of dreams, but it's a much welcomed rest. The pallet keeps the cold soil away. The moonlight saves the outside world from the eerie gloom. You listen to your own breath and find a comfortable position. Your job starts tomorrow. The Merchant Guild wants to take control of this realm. Your wardening duties are secondary. First and foremost, you need to explore the peninsula. Learn about the territory, resources, and threats. Get to know the locals. And if you can, convince them to consider negotiations with Havlavan officials and traders. Could the tribes resist the soldiers, or be a threat to priests of the unified church? Are there any forbidden practices that need to be eradicated, such as blood magic, necromancy, robbery, or slavery? At least I have time. 40 days to be exact. I need to be as thorough as I can. Once you finish your reconnaissance, you should speak to Tulia and return to Havlavan. There you'll report back to your employers and get your reward. In the meantime, you have your own goal to pursue. Okay, I need to gather some extra coins. Okay, so this is a chance to designate a personal goal. So if I gather enough connections among the local leaders, I'll use them to become a major player in the Merchant Guild. I want to be remembered as the soul. So it's a little like Sunless Sea, in that there appear to be several different goals you can potentially designate for yourself, and each presumably will have different conditions. It sounds like the main gameplay loop won't change much, but your goals within that loop will. So we'll say, we're trying to leave our troubled past behind, and that's why we're especially nice to people. We're trying to balance out a karmic debt that we will do our best not to elaborate upon. Your half asleep senses are catching the sounds of the wild forest. Your instincts keep you alert and anxious, though the pleasant, humid late summer air evens it out slowly. Can't travel during the night, put to sleep but to rest. You're thinking about your goal, but you need to gather your strength. All I can do now is rest. So, let's sleep. You can spend the night in a borrowed tent. It's nothing special, but it'll protect you from the wind and rain, the ground, blah, blah, blah. I got it. Let's rest. We have a journey ahead of us. We have a road in need of wardening. You're woken up by sunlight, well rested and ready. Without haste, you gather your things. After only a couple breaths, you notice a weird smell, like a roast. No. Burning meat. Burning, rotten meat. Disgust crawls into your consciousness. You exit the tent. Your horse is looking around nervously. Your bags are where you had left them. You see an open gate. Both soldiers are standing near a humble pyre. The man in the shirt looks at it contemplatively. Tulia is the first one to address you. Sir, I say, sir, she greets you with a nod. We use the horse's manure for the flames, so don't worry about cleaning it up. You see a corpse among the flames. It's impossible to tell if it belongs to a male or a female, but it was an adult. The burning process won't be over for a couple more hours. A traveler or an undead? The latter. A young one. She lacked the pneuma to understand that she couldn't get inside the camp without climbing. I stabbed her with a spear from a safe distance. She shifts her weight. One more fog and she'd be a real threat. Even now, it took a couple hits to knock her down. Sooner or later, every human shell wakes up, gathering more strength with each soul it devours and each moment it spends in the fogs. Burning the dead is not just a religious practice. Yes, I did, miss. Yes, I did. Burning the dead is not just a religious practice, it's a necessity. Soldiers, priests, village mayors, even road wardens. Making a large pyre takes a lot of time, but it saves lives. Tulia calls this undead a she. Most unites hesitate to do so. So again, we're getting a sense of what is considered normal in this world. So the undead are a persistent threat, but they're also a common enough threat that two soldiers out in the middle of nowhere understand it and know what to do with it. So this is, again, we're getting a really interesting sense of a world where fantastical things are mundane, but also getting from A to B involves a lot of mundane concerns, like getting enough food, getting enough rest, staying healthy, staying clean, and such. Anyway, time for me to leave. Running away from the reek, eh? I don't blame you. She walks with you for a few steps. Find us here if you need us, or if you learned what happened to Asterion. There's enough ground here for you to rest. Safe travels. Those words make you stop. An old farewell, mocked in a number of songs and tales, but yet you hear no scorn in Tulia's voice. You wonder how many acts of kindness like this one you're going to experience in the days to follow. She returns to the pyre. Alright. You somehow miss the fact that your mount is already saddled and warmed up. You double-check the equipment, but you don't need to fix anything. The soldiers were diligent. Normally, preparing any palfrey for a long journey takes a lot of time. So possibly because I was on good terms with the soldiers and relatively upfront with them, they might have taken care of that for me. Not sure, I'll have to replay this game. And it's definitely designed to be replayable like that. But you put on a gambeson and make sure that your axe is tightly attached to your belt, then get in the saddle. The palfrey knickers, ready to leave. It's time for you to get to the crossroads, north from here. Alright, travel forward to continue your journey. Once you're done with the north, speak with Tulia to return to Hovlevan. Alright, so forward. So we got some kind of world map thing here, or region map. Even at a later hour, you wouldn't expect to meet any travelers in the valley. The warm summer breeze lures your mount forward, but the serene chirping of birds is quickly replaced by the distracting screeches and gurgles coming from further down the path. You soon find the pack of four-legged griffins. They're larger than foxes, and merge the features of birds and furred beasts. Each one is of a different size, coat, and colors, and their temperaments are just as varied. Their fronts are covered with vivid feathers, while their rears have darker fur. Their wings are massive, making them impressive jumpers, but they're too heavy to fly. About 24 beasts are yelling, brawling, chasing each other, and chasing each other around, blocking your path. Alright, so, we've got a problem here. You can't enter the forest blindly. If these or other creatures were to chase after you, the thicket would be disastrous for your horse. There are reasons why travelers stay as close to the main roads as possible, and why adventurers move in groups. Usually, the safest approach would be to stay where you are and just wait for the pack to get hungry. It may, however, take up to a couple hours. You're thinking about your conversation with Tulia. You've got a lot to do, and time may be of the essence. On occasion, you can use the Scholar's Education to unlock unique interactions. So yeah, we can stay put. Okay, this icon indicates that actions involve a random chance, so there's a degree of dice rolling in here, and I assume that will determine, that there are standard actions any character can take, and there are also special actions that your specific character can take. Did Carl really name his character that? Yeah. Well, that's just it. Yeah, it asks me what my name was, and that's what I went with. So, anyway, on occasion, yeah, let's see what the scholar can do here. So, I mix black powder with gladden that grows nearby and the dried skunk sorrel from my bag. Once I ignite it and throw it at the griffins, they'll scatter. Hell yeah, let's make a stink bomb. Most city folk feel aversion. You can learn about your abilities in the character sheet later. Most city folk feel aversion toward black powder, and you touch it with great care. The odor of the plants make you feel dizzy, but what's more important is that the griffins have wolf-like sensitivity to smells and noises. A few of the beasts turn their heads toward you as you approach the pack with a bag in hand. You ignite your missile and throw it forward. At first, the creatures surround the source of smoke, but then they growl in disgust, even putting their beaks to the ground. They flee, allowing you to continue your journey. Fuck yeah! Score 1 for science! Okay, so yeah. Sir, I say sir, the Roadwarden. After years spent studying on old codices and training, I left home to escape my difficult past. So yeah, you're literate, your education helps you solve many mysteries. With access to an alchemy table and proper ingredients, you can brew useful balms and potions. So yeah, this is interesting. So it's tracking a lot of decisions you make and also your religion, which we decided we're atheist for now. The lies you've told, which I assume can come back to haunt you at some point. Sewing experience. So again, this is concerned with the nuts and bolts of travel and the physical needs of your characters. You're moving around this complex, dangerous, not very well explained at first world. And, the mystery of it is part of what you will have to confront as you go. I really need to find a proper alchemy set. But back on the horse and onward. Yeah, we're gonna need some food soon. The road splits. According to what the soldiers have told you, you may find a safe inn by turning left. The forest to the right is lush, and the trail overgrown. The kids used to have this song. How did it go? The harshest pathway leads to the dragon's lair. Those who search for treasure, do you truly dare? The signpost in front of you doesn't make your situation much clearer. It was put here by someone who can't write, for folks who can't read. Covered in old red paint, it points east. Blood there, as people say. Danger to be found. There's not a soul to ask for guidance. Alright, so yeah, we're at a crossroads here. Supposedly going left leads us to the inn. Oh, we gotta name our horse. Awesome. Let's see. Senor Bling Bling. There we go. Senor Bling Bling, you are now my mount. My noble steed, my trusty ally in this weird fantasy world. Senor Bling Bling, as peaceful as you stroke its mane. Maybe I can't help you choose a path, but you spent many years together. Happy to go on, it takes a couple steps forward. You spot a few berry shrubs and wild cabbages, but they still need at least 2 weeks to gain maturity. Alright, so, let's see. So, save here. Let's keep moving. So, explore west, explore east, a point connecting the deep forest of the east, the western wetlands, and the road to Havlavan. You're currently here. Yeah, we'll play it safe for now. We'll go looking for this inn. Because, yeah, we're pretty low on food. We've only got, like, 1 food ration. And, yeah, we won't restore health while sleeping or resting. Senor Bling Bling trots with ease, unbothered by the few branches covering the beaten road. The bird songs and distant howls draw away your attention to the forest, which gets sparser and brighter. You spot boars, roe deer, and saurians. The sight of a nearby wolf pack worries you, but once you push your hips forward and your palfrey enters a canter, the beasts don't even begin a pursuit. The speed alone will protect you from many dangers. You notice a stone tower taller than the trees. It must be the inn I've heard about. Let's check it out. Inns like this one fit the regions traveled by merchants, but you wouldn't expect a place of this size in a forsaken peninsula. The stone and lumber must have been transported from far away, and the workers, guarded by expensive mercenaries, surely lived for many seasons in a primitive hamlet, subsisting on salted supplies. There are seemingly no cracks in the wall. The building was whitewashed only a few years back. The road is wide and beaten. Dozens of souls could hide, if not in the buildings, then at least in the yard. The expenses and labor put into this fortress were worth many trading ships. 3 armed people are on the ramparts. You only see what's above their waistline. They're leaning on the parapet, right next to the gate, and you think you notice a glimpse of a smile. They wear gambesons, each of them dyed differently, yellow, green, and linen gray. So we actually have something of a proper settlement here. Interesting. A woman in yellow armor leans forward. She has long, curly, disorderly red hair, pointing in every possible direction. This combination of colors doesn't work at all. In the woods, one would have to shout to draw this much attention. We're having a fashion critic Roadwarden, it looks like. There's still a fair distance between the two of you, but she speaks loudly. I han't. Okay, so we have yeah, they're going to be having accents in the dialogue here. I hadn't seen a horse for years now. I just said that it's weird to see such a large jackass. Huh. Her voice is young and strong, with an accent that reminds you of the villages spread around Hovlevan. But no jackass would wear a saddle, I'd say. She exchanges a few words with a male guard wearing green, giving you time to move closer. Well, this one here says that there really are donkey saddles. Say, traveler, how hard is it to ride a horse? Let's see. But you give it a try. You wouldn't believe it, the lessons are a pain. It's easy to learn the basics, but it's tiring. It's an inn, isn't it? Open the gate. Quite hard, honestly. We will be... Why not? We'll play into this. You wouldn't believe it. The lessons were a pain. You get off your horse and imitate the silly walk from the day that followed the first long journey, while your whole shell was crying. So it's interesting they're referring to bodies as shells, so it's indicating a broader theological belief and approach toward mortality and what happens to your body when you're gone. The presence of the undead means that life is viewed a little bit differently in these parts. Anyway, you illustrate the pain as you move your hand from your back to your hips, then thighs. In return, the guards tell you about that time when they had to carry their friend with bitten-off legs for 3 days straight through the heart of the woods. Meanwhile, the other guards open the gate. You may be in a good mood. The woman in the yellow jacket smiles at you. But don't get so noisy when you talk to our boss. The man never smiles. He has the world's suffering sculpted on his face. She leads you under the roof under which your palfrey can rest, tethered with a cord to a wooden post near some old hay. Once you're ready, go inside, speak with our boss. Maybe you're hungry? The other guards take care of various chores. They peek at your mount every now and then as they're splitting firewood, cleaning their clothes, weeding the garden patches, and moving chairs. 2 of them are making a rope. You head toward the inn, hearing the piercing scream of a boar from the other side of the yard. The locked windows make the air stuffy. Okay, if you're in the morning, you can spend the entire day on resting. Cool. The locked windows make the air stuffy, and the weak fire in the stove hardly lightens up the hall. A muscular man is sweeping the floor near the stairs, but after he glances at you, he leans the broom against the wall and heads behind the counter. You're lucky to show up. His voice is deep and soft, with a city-like accent. He observes you with keen attention, yet avoids your eyes. Have a keg of decent ale. Wormwood, bog myrtle, juniper berries, cat's foot. He fills the mug carefully and puts it on the countertop. It's gonna spoil soon. Maybe today. We don't drink it here before the even. I hate to see the good stuff go to waste. His skin is dark, almost purple, rare among the southern tribes, and his hair is naturally bluish. His clothes are quite fancy for manual labor. The elegant tunic wouldn't stand out in the city square. The planks let out a creak after every step you make, so you slow down a bit. You could swear that the innkeeper made little to no noise. Here you go, he pushes the mug forward. But just so you know, my pelt to the north doesn't belong to Hovlevan. You can sleep on the floor if you wish so, but if you want a bed or a meal, you have to pay. We have some leftovers from dinner, but I'll need to check. So, yeah. So we were told the innkeeper was kind of a straightforward fellow, so we'll probably keep this relatively curt. Relatively short and to the point, we'll say. I won't stay here for long. I introduce myself. He nods and fills another mug, this time with water. I guess there's no point in waiting for Asterion, then. I'm glad to see someone taking his place. Even my crew here hits the road only if they need to see the healers of Howler's Dell, and they're more than resourceful. A Roadwarden is always going to find work here in the north, though maybe not on the eastern road. He takes a mouthful of water and drinks it with a pleased sigh. There are no guests here at this time, or hardly ever. I can take a short break. Alright, let's drink up. The dark room and wooden walls of the mug make the liquid look as brown as chestnut. The lee in spring hits your nose, and the first sip is even too complex, too flowery. While the brewer has used fancy ingredients, the exotic licorice ruins the aftertaste. Now you know why there's so much left. Maybe it takes an acquired taste. The innkeeper nods. I was hoping to see someone willing to patrol the roads. Maybe you'll help me with a worrying thought I have. Which is? There are brigands in the woods. Our place is a stronghold, so I'm not afraid of an open strike, but they've gotten more active in the last 2 years. One day they may steal our furs, and I've no doubt they're the reason why merchants come here only once. Having bandits around gets expensive. He rubs his hands together, camouflaging his paws. I want you to reach Howler's Dell, northwest from here. It's the largest settlement around. I'm sure you'll get there sooner or later. Ask Thies, the mayor, about Glaucia, that bloodthirsty wolf of a woman. I've heard rumors about a raid in the north. If Glaucia is ready to break the truce with the locals, I'm willing to join forces with them to get rid of her band. He looks at a nearby dragon bone. Not too difficult, right? Just do it when you have a chance. A couple days won't make much of a difference. I'll pay you 2 coins when you get back with the news. Fine? I nod. Great. What else do you need? So this is interesting. So we'll be moving around the world, and unusually for the types of games like this, it seems like we'll be able to actually double back and revisit places we've been before. So it's not just we'll be going in a straight line or in one journey with no backtracking. We'll be making our way around a map with consistent points of reference. Anyway, let's see. What else do you need? What do you have for sale? Goodbye. Looking for a stereo in the previous rodent. Lots of backtracking. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, that's something you don't really get from this kind of game normally. Let's see. Do you have any leftovers? Yes, I feed them to our boar, and won't give them away for nothing. He tells you to wait, then leaves the building for a few minutes and returns with a wooden bucket and a long stick ending with a hook. Go through the gate and turn left. You'll see a bunch of bushes. We need some berries. Bring me back a bucket full, you'll be done in half an hour or so. Your horse could use a nap anyway, then I'll prepare something for you to fill you. The hook is not made of metal or wood. It's a long, curved claw, almost black. Yeah, why not? It's quite a lot for berry picking. The tools are cold, not too heavy. You notice a pair of thick gloves at the bottom of the bucket. Ah, the berries are not a problem, the innkeeper smirks. Unlike the snakes. Better scare them away with the stick or move them with the hook. And protect your hands. The little ones won't eat you, but don't get bitten. I'm sure you know how to be patient. Yeah, why not? We'll go pick some berries and get a free meal out of this. You step outside. Senior Bling Bling is fighting off flies with its tail. At this hour, the armorer's workshop is closed. Alright. Let's go berry picking. Exactly. Almost like you're patrolling the roads. Like it's literally my job. The innkeeper knew what he was talking about. You put on the gloves and look through the bushes from a safe distance. It doesn't take long before you notice the first serpent lying on the rock somewhere in the thicket. The creatures are not that large, and even if some of them hiss at you or slither closer, the jabs of the hook keep them at a distance. You don't know much about these berries. They're round and reddish. You wouldn't trust such a color even if you were looking for food in the wilderness. The plants don't have thorns, but the leaves are harsh, so you make sure to thoroughly cover your skin with your clothes. You have to look through many bushes to fill the bucket. The presence of insects and snakes doesn't allow you to relax. So, let's see what being a smarty pants here can help with gathering. Ooh. One of these shrubs is not like the others. One of the bushes in the back has more berries than the others. They're purple, and as you squeeze one of them, you recognize that these are marsh bules. In small amounts, they're added to pies, sauces, and beverages, known for their delicate sourness and sweetness. Unique but not intrusive. Still, eating a cup of them will make one sick, if not poisoned. You're surprised to see them in a meadow far from the wetland. You could use them at an alchemy table if you can find it. For now, you put a fistful into one of your jars. The others are still a bit greenish. Hell yeah, we have alchemy berries! We're ready to do some fucking road science. You return to the courtyard. 2 of the guards are participating in a friendly skirmish. Their wrestling is accompanied by a crowd. Alright. Let's see. Put the fruits on the counter. Great. Got a cabbage stew with a few goose chunks for you. I'd serve it even to merchants if there were any around. The meal is warm and filling. It's very seasoned, not overcooked. Nice. And like I've said, I rarely have food to spare, but feel free to ask if you ever stop by. You may be lucky. I've been cooking my whole life. Thanks. How'd that old hook of mine work out for you? See, you still have your hands. Worked good. Oh, we can actually buy it off him. Interesting. Actually, what do we have for money? Looks like 5 coins? Interesting. Wine alone among merchants allows you to stay and eat in a shoddy city tavern for about 5 days. For 10 coins, you'd buy a decent bow, for 20, a sword. And for 100, a squad of mercenaries will be willing to face an army of trolls. Interesting. So yeah, we're going to be dealing with relatively small amounts of currency in our adventure. We'll hand it back to him for now. What do you have for sale? I can go and pick up a few things for you. Some food for your travels to start with. Apples, nuts, sausage. Not too many at once. Got an elk fur I don't need. Buyer was caught by a pack of red wolves. Nice for a sleeping spot. An almost untouched bowl of soap. Priceless for a traveler. You can't tell if he's being sarcastic. Made of fine oak ash. Strong, though. Strong. Though you should have some better supplies before you start your own bathhouse. After you mention you'd like something more useful on these roads, he looks down. I don't have any blades or armor to spare, but if you'd pay well, you can take one of our crossbows and a bunch of quarrels. Ooh, nice. A yew bow, wool cords, and the trigger needs just a little bit of oil. It's as good as you can get without soaking it in magic. Takes a bit of muscle to draw, but even a 16-year-old could handle it. I won't sell it cheap, but I'm ready to give a discount to a helpful ally. Okay, so definitely don't have enough for most of this. We can buy soap, we can buy crossbow bolts, we can buy food rations. I think I will buy the food, because we gave the soldiers one. We're down to our last one. So, yeah. Sounds good. Oh, okay, so 1 gold gets you 3 rations. Nice. Alright. Let's ask you about the previous Roadwarden. How are you now? He goes to the table and invites you to sit down with him. I don't think I'm going to be much help. He rests his elbow on the tabletop and grunts quietly to clear his throat. But I do want you to find him, so... When asked about his intentions, he measures his words. Asterion and I made a risky deal. Well, a very promising one. Last time he was here, he took 50 coins, my half of the investment. He knocks on the table with a fist, anxiously. If you get my coin, or at least find out what happened to the guy, I'll make sure you won't be disappointed after bringing me the news. Could it be that he stole the coins and ran away? He looks at the window and starts to play with a shutter. I just think Asterion ain't the kind of soul that would do such a thing. For him, it wasn't much of a fortune, and I'd risk saying he'd earned my trust. Not only mine, you know. It's easy for a Roadwarden to make connections. He always had places to go, things to take care of. He rubs the table with his thumb, as if trying to clear an invisible stain. I've asked travelers. I've sent a couple of my pals to find him. No real news. I know he stayed in White Marshes for a day and was meant to do something for the people there. It's a village in the northwest. Just stay on the main road until you reach the bogs and enter them. You may get there before dusk. So, let me know once you find anything, and we may yet return to this whole investment thing. I'll think about it. Interesting. Okay, so we got a possible destination. What can you tell me about this peninsula? What can anyone say? This place doesn't even have a name, unless there's an old book in an archive that no soul knows about. You know what I call everything from here to the coast? The hunting ground. He glances at your eyes. But it's not us who hunt. Keep that at heart, but the beasts in all shapes and forms. His words gain confidence slowly, which is strengthened by his deep voice. I've lived in this inn for over 10 years now, and I've only seen a couple of roads, a couple places. It's just, once you get here and you see how harsh it is to hit the road, you have only more reasons to stay at the warm stove, behind a wall, even if it's suffocating. He looks toward the windows. I'm sure you've heard a lot already, that the people don't build hamlets anymore. There are no more ibexes, yeah, from the south, and traders only stay there for a few days. All of our iron is used for cauldrons, not swords or tools. Are the recent roads as rough as I've heard? Pretty much. Don't leave the main road, I'd say. Not so far from here you'll find an old dolmen. A few of my men had to spend a night there, and monkeys stole food and gods from their bags. It was their fault. One of them had fallen asleep in the middle of their watch, but, you know. The eastern forests are wild. The roads are rough. Almost no soul lives there. One day all these roads will be swallowed by the trees again. The furthest my team has ever gone was the home of the Enchantress. Just stay on track until you reach the crossroads, right near an abandoned watchtower. From there, turn east. You'll recognize the place. It's a nice home in a lonely meadow, surrounded by a wall. He He looks toward the closed window, then at you again. Kinda like our walls, but simpler, without coating. She lives as a hermit, Eudocia. I don't even know how she survives out there. But if you don't have decent coin, you won't find much there. So back to the crossroads. If you turn left instead, you'll see a road. Prepare to people stay away from it. It connects the tower and the monastery, a shortcut between the two sides of the peninsula. I was warned by the locals not to use it. It already belongs to the beasts. What'll I find traveling west? Well, there are hills nearby. Then you'll find a village, maybe an hour away from here. It was destroyed by beasts almost a decade ago. Nothing to see there. The goblins live there now, so most people just travel around it. They say it's haunted, but who knows? Who cares? He crosses his arms, starts to sway back and forth, gathering his thoughts. You'll get to a large tree on the edge of the swamp. For the locals, it's sacred. You're not used to hearing someone mentioning pagans as if there's nothing unusual about them. There's a small path south, which leads to an old mine in the mountains. Nothing to find there. But keep riding north and you'll find Howler's Dell, set at a clean brook. Farmers live there, and mouflons and druids. I don't know what mouflons are. That might be an actual word, that might be something made up for their setting. They'll let you stay for a night, but they're not cheap. If anyone thinks my prices are bad, it means they ain't been to the Ape Ale Inn yet. He lets out a gentle smile. I nod. I know only a little bit about the next settlement, Old Pagos. The soil there ain't too fertile, so they work in their quarry and help other settlements build things in exchange for their crops. Mouflons are a type of sheep. Okay, yeah, got it, thanks. The forests and the hills ain't too harsh, but the Seekers have a small monastery nearby. I have no idea if I've been pronouncing that correctly, by the way, so I apologize for any mistakes. I don't care much about them. They keep to themselves. They don't pay well. The third village is unknown to me. White marshes set at the bogs. I've heard it smells like a griffin's lair. I've heard a lot of nasty rumors about the place, but I won't share them. I don't want to be a lie spreader. So 3 villages, really. Howler's, the one near the monastery, whatever it's called, and the marshes. Don't let their beds and palisades fool you, though. Weird people live there. Don't tell them more than you need to. You wonder if it's something he would tell to other travelers as well. Alright, that's all for now. Alright, what's this about Glaucia's band? Okay, he wants me to get an answer from the mayor of Howler's Dell. Alright, I'm on it. I think we can proceed. Let's talk to the guards. The woman in yellow armor is kneeling next to a brown, hairy boar, which is resting on its side. The beast is not as large as the dark ones from the forest. It responds to the touch of the human's hand and brush with a grateful grunting and rapid twitches of a hind hoof. No matter how friendly it appears, it's still tethered to the wall, and you have no doubts that its charge would leave Senior Bling Bling dead in a breath. When the woman notices you, she steps forward to the boar's disappointment. So, the new Roadwarden? She points at a window with her chin, forestalling the question. We don't need anything now, but when we travel with our furs, we can use some assistance. She may be around 30, but her warm voice and bright smile are camouflaging the touch of time on her unpowdered face. Like many red-haired people with freckles, her skin is unhealthily pale. The boar runs up to her, observing your boots and fruitlessly sniffing for food between the beaten ground. She pats its back, but maintains her focus. How about a game or two? We have a bit of time, we can talk about this or that. Maybe you'll get a couple coins, or lose one. You can play dice, or throw axes at a target. Ooh, axe throwing, hell yeah! So yeah, either of these, I guess, potentially might win or lose. Why not? I'm a scholar, I have no idea what I'm doing, let's hurl some fucking axes. Your arrival, and especially the dragon bone you pull out, are cheerfully welcomed. The guards prepare a couple wooden planks which are leaned against the wall. There are also spectators, and you're told that the other hunters are either sleeping or have duty on the tower. Remember, no magic, says one of the players. His face is deadly serious. There are going to be 4 participants and 8 rounds. You aim it at the target drawn with charcoal. The person whose axe lands closest to the target, to the center of the circle, gets a point. Axes that fail to stay in the plank don't count. The person who has the most points at the end of the last turn becomes a winner. Right. You talk a lot, but also don't say much. You share casual jokes, memories, and views on luck and optimal strategies. Senior Bling Bling and Tulio's camp are also brought up, but when you ask about the roads or the locals, their stories are vague. The drinks are here. It's poor beer made from leftovers after the regular brewing. It's cold, sweet, and doesn't reach your head, but you try to avoid the smell. Just don't spill anything. The boar may get sick, says the opponent with one arm. Oh yeah, that's drinking and axe throwing. This is a fantastic combination of activities. As a guest, you start with the first throw. Your axe flies well, hitting the very middle of the painted target and piercing the plank with a pleasant thud, which makes it really difficult for the other players to outperform you. Yarr! A minute later, you've won the first round, but you can't expect to be that lucky every time. Alright, all I can do is try my best. It's the greatest combination even. Nice. There actually is like this axe throwing place at a mall nearby, but I mean, it's not an activity I have any interest in doing whatsoever, but it does sound exactly like the kind of dumb fun you'd want to get your guys to go and like check out one time, like going to an escape room or something. But anyway, yeah, all I can do is try my best. You finish with only 1 point. You cast a oh, we lost. You cast a dragon bone at a massive woman who stops her winning dance only briefly, surrounded by the rhythmic clapping of her crew. You're approached by the guard in yellow armor and her wholehearted laughter. Well, alright, that didn't work out, but what the hell. Have you ever been at the heart of the woods? We sometimes hunt south from there. There are good hunting grounds in the western half. The second is too overgrown. Maybe the soil's different? She shrugs, then moves the hair away from her forehead. But it's a risky spot. There are treants there, and wolves, even the furless ones. And if you have to go through the tall grasses, watch out for what's on the ground. There ain't many archers in the trees. She smiles as if it's a joke. And there are all too many worms, even larger than a water leech. Alright, tell me about yourself. Oh, what was that? After a brief giggle, her voice gets cold and serious. Nah, Roadwarden. We use names and stories among friends. You ain't one. Don't make me tempt curses. Alright, what's this about? I was foraging for berries for the innkeep? So I've heard. Don't worry about it. Usually we forage by ourselves, but he wouldn't ask you for a dragon for a meal. He wouldn't ask you for a dragon for a meal. Sounds like some kind of expression there. He gives small jobs to people all the time, just to see who agrees to do them. Wants to judge who's of use and who's too proud for their own good. Alright, well, little bits of, little bit of anyway. I hear sounds of work coming from the armorer's workshop. Let's see what's going on here. You walk past the well and find a small open shed, not unlike the stable, but with a humble set of tables, carving tools, hammers, sharpening stones, pincers, knives, and other tools. As long as something can be solved by brute force, this place will find a way to do so. There are 2 people sitting on a long bench. The first one is a male with maybe inch-long hair, cleanly shaven face, a thin, long yellow tunic, bare legs, and sandals. He ignores her presence, sewing a gambeson with great concentration. The second person is a boy, maybe 15. Who's wearing the crude outfit of a farmer. He glances at you, but soon returns to sharpening a long dagger. Well, wait, I don't want to interrupt. After a few minutes, the man finishes his task and raises his head. He puts away the piece of garment on the table, stands up, bows to you, and shrugs, waiting to speak. Alright, I'm in need of your services. He nods, points at the laces in front of your jacket, raises clenched fingers to his shoulders, then gently spreads and lowers them as if he's taking off a robe. You follow his command and allow him to properly inspect your gambeson. After a few minutes, he gives it back, then reaches for his pouch. He pulls out one dragon bone, shrugs, then another one, and waves both of them in the air. Oh, so I think this guy's mute. Interesting. And then another and waves them both in the air, pursing his lips. He makes a few speech-like noises with his empty mouth, groaning what sounds like, I don't know. Okay, so if I wanted to patch my jacket up, I could. We're not doing too bad. I think we can afford to wait on that for now. Alright, I guess we'll just leave them to work. Let's go to the well. Recently renovated roof covers the well from the rain and birds. One of the guards is enjoying the cold drink he drew from a bucket. Tells you to use only as much water as necessary. You need at least 1 piece of bathing equipment to get more out of this place. Yeah, we're starting to get a bit filthy here, but not a lot we can do about that. Yeah, won't get any cleaner here. I step away. So I guess we'll enter the inn. Let's see. Soap counts as bathing equipment. Oh, okay, that's not a bad idea. Actually, yeah, come to think of it, maybe we'll buy the soap as well. Why not? Something tells me we're not going to find too many of this on the road. I'm a bit low on money, but that'll just have to do. Okay, any rumors worth sharing? I don't like to talk about what people wait nearby, but you know what you're doing. Who are you wondering about? Tell me about... Oh, interesting. Okay, so this actually lets you talk about like, objects. I haven't seen this in a long time. Like, the last time was Wasteland 2, where you can actually just write in a topic and the game will parse what you're trying to, like, you can input your own topics in lieu of the game coming up with a list of things to ask about. That's interesting, yeah. This is something I haven't seen in a while. So, let's say... Empress, huh? You know, let's try it out. Let's ask about the Empress. What do you mean? You trying to find her after all these years? The Empress is gone, and she'll never be back. She's dead as shit. Interesting. Okay. Let's see. How about, let's say, Armorer. He used to be able to speak. A sad fate, and a painful one. One day he ate an undercooked slice of meat on his journey south, and after a few weeks he realized that something was biting his tongue. Something was living in it, like a worm in an apple. We tried to kill it with fire and hard drinks, but it was too late. Ugh, Jesus. The flesh started to rot, we had to amputate it. He can't help other hunters without speaking or shouting, so he's learning a new trade now. Jesus Christ. Okay, so always check your food before you bite into it. Good to know. Ask about the guards. My team is more than a dozen people strong, he says with confidence, and all of them are experienced hunters. See, I really like this, because that opens up a wealth of topics that aren't necessarily critical to the plot, but tell you a little bit more about the world, and you don't have to cram into a list. So yeah, over the past 10 years, only 4 of us have died and 2 from sickness. With the kids from the villages who've joined us, we're doing better than fine. A crappy warrior in the forest gives only worries, and I'm the one who decides who's in. They train, learn how to understand one another in a team in the middle of chaos about monsters and traps. Teamwork, that's the key. With our walls and a bunch such as this, it's the safest place in the north. As long as the dragons stay away. Okay, that's cool. What else we can save? Let's see. Anything else around we should look? Approach the guards, enter the inn, go to the well. Yeah, why not? Let's wash up. The oak ash soap can help you get cleaner. Yes! Alright, we'll take away your smell, but it's enough to remove the tallow and sweat from your skin or mud stains from your clothes. Nice! Alright, let's get back on the road. Let's see what's on the next stop. The road uphill meanders, slowing you down and forcing you to pay close attention not only to the shadows of the trees, but also to the tight, rocky passages. You can't help but notice a few caves and fine ambush spots. Keep an eye out for any sign of life. Standing in front of the gate... Ooh, the ruined village. Interesting. You hear no voices, no tools at work, no steps. Dozens of birds live among the collapsed roofs. They're fluttering, singing, and squawking as free of worries. If you want to travel any further, you'll need to ride around the palisade. Searching the ruins may take a lot of time. The broken gate in the north will lead you to the village. The sound of a gentle river reaches you from the east, where you see a saggy fence surrounding an overgrown pasture. Behind the burnt building in the east, you see an oddly barren field. Okay, something's going on here. Let's take a look around. Let's take a closer look at the gate. The palisade is in good shape, and the entrance wasn't even touched by fire. It was torn away, possibly thrown. The amount of force used here must have been huge. But you'd expect that it would be to push the gate into the village, not away from it. You don't see any marks of a dragon bite. A troll could toss such planks, but after so many years, you see no paw prints. A mage? You can't really tell. I approach the building near the field. The broken logs and planks are charred, while the wooden walls are rotting and covered in moss. You see no ashes or dust, proving that the fire happened long ago. The smell is awful. There are no reasons to stay for long. You see no furniture, just some broken shelves. It was just a storage room. The valuable odds and ends were already taken by scavengers. Okay, let's explore. Explore the southwest part of the village. So yeah, you see here, it unveils parts of the map as we explore them, and there might be additional details or possibly threats hiding in the parts we can't yet see. The buildings, some of which have collapsed, are made of wood, now charred and rotten. You spot claw marks on the walls, especially close to the doors and window frames. They could belong to a dragonling, or a large wolf, larger than the gray ones, or a corpse eater. Too many options to make a guess, yet no beast remains in sight. You find the remains of clothes, furniture, odds and ends. Only one object seems to be of use. A basket-like fish trap made of vines and willow branches. If a large fish swims into it, it won't be able to get out on its own. It's quite large, but I can fit it on my saddle. Hell yeah! Picked up a fish trap. You feel a slight aching in your stomach. Where do you want to go? Let's see. Let's inspect the palisade. The tracks of human footwear and many, many more ape footprints cover the path formed around the palisade's breach. As far as you can tell, the freshest footprints lead to the village. The wooden stakes spread on the ground are rotten, covered in mushrooms, small flowers, insects, and worms. A good source of animal or goblin food. You'd expect them to also hunt for the birds and eggs. The meadow in the west turns into a forest quickly. The grasses in the north surround dozens of tree stumps, already covered with moss and fungi. Yeah, I shouldn't enter the forest, especially not in this area. Let's check the northwest. The colorful grass covers the entire fenced pasture. The large stone placed in the middle suggests it could be a playground for ibixes, or maybe it's just an old garden. You see a couple small sheds, a latrine, and a single building to the south, completely burned down. All these places were cleaned out by scavengers. Senior Bling Bling doesn't want to approach the large ruins in the north. The terrible stench of feces and rotting food scares you off as well. The paths are covered with goblin footprints. It's daytime, so the pack should be asleep. If the beasts were active, they would try to scare you off or hunt down your mount. This is their territory. Once they wake up, you will face a furious enemy. And go somewhere else quietly. Okay, so yeah, this is the village that was attacked by goblins. Some of them are still running around. So we'll have to be careful as we look around here. I'm not entirely sure how much danger we're in, but presumably if we fuck around too much, we will find out in a most unpleasant fashion. Okay, to east and west, you see shadowy alleys behind damaged buildings, where your path south leads to the main square. Pushed or pulled, it doesn't move an inch. Someone has spread dirt and rocks both underneath it and around it, seemingly to keep the plank stuck on the ground. Let's see. You don't find anything worth picking. The half-dead quinces have maggots crawling under their skins. You wonder which part of this meal is more tempting for the dark-winged birds sitting among the branches, the flesh of the fruits, or of the worms. Quinces are rarely eaten without having a chance to blet. You can safely guess that they were meant to be dried, or to add taste to cookies or hard drinks. Hey, Mirage. Yeah, this place is really setting a tone here. After a few moments, you realize that the bottom part of the tree, just above the ground, is partly charred. Someone must have opposed a torch here, but the wet wood didn't burst into flames. Okay, let's into the well. It's filled up with soil, and you find nothing interesting about the area around it. You want to open the gate. Take a look at the other side to be sure it's even possible, especially since it may take a couple hours without proper tools. The closer you are to the village and the longer you stay around, the sicker you feel. The taste of gastric juices hits your mouth, your forehead hurts, you start to stumble. Senior Bling Bling, worried by the sight, pokes your head through with his nose. Okay, so something is happening to me here. It's possible that something is making me sick, so we should probably move away from this area. Let's walk away from the walls. Leaning on your mount, you go outside, keeping your mouth shut. After a few minutes, your eyes get clearer. It may be better to leave, or at least stay away from the village for the rest of the day. The village is totally normal. Yeah, so something happened there. So stop, touch your aching stomach. Where do you want to go? So I think if the longer we stay here, the more we're at risk of something happening to us. Whether it's because of the goblins that appear to have sacked the place or something else is hard to say. Clearly there was some kind of attack here, but the details of it were left to paint in with our imagination. Like, the gate to the north looks like it was blocked off, almost like they sabotaged it in some way, so that when they attacked, this would be one less area through which people could escape. That suggests some kind of organized assault that I'm not sure if goblins would be capable of doing. It sort of depends on what they are like in this setting. But anyway, let us look around a little bit more. Why not? Let's tempt fate. Okay. You don't find a single sign of the livestock that lived here in the past. Any bones, horns, antlers, or dung have already been devoured by the wilderness. The pasture ends at the river. On the opposite bank, the meadow turns into a thick forest, impenetrable for a rider. What are the chances that a herd of defenseless animals could get there and survive? The breach in the southern fence wasn't made by some brute force. You find axe cuts in the spots that were ultimately broken away. After all these years, there are no tracks you could follow. Okay, inspect the fields to the southwest. You're surrounded by what looks like a field plowed in the late autumn, disturbed by hundreds of rain and snowfalls. There's only a few clumps of grass and wheat, but a place like this one, abandoned for years, should have already turned itself into a green lea. A barren field? Maybe it was overused, but you would still expect the weeds to sprout. A curse? The path leading west from here ends at the edge of the field, shifting into a meadow, then a forest. Pain in your stomach slows you down. Where do you want to go? Inspect the clearing. The meadow is lush and colorful, and so dense it's unsafe for a rider. For a couple minutes, you lead Senior Bling Bling with a rope, avoiding the potential disaster in case of a hoof falling into an animal den. Being forced to travel around the palisade every time you get here is going to be a pain. Most of the tree trunks look similar and have a comparable size. They're most likely planted with the sole purpose of being cut down and used by the locals. They're cutting so many trees at once, that alone could provoke the wrath of the herds. Such a process should be spread across a couple seasons, and you can't be sure that was the case. In the west and north, the clearing turns into a wild forest. In the east, you see a road leading north. Okay, let's go to the road leading north in the village. You're at the closed northern gate, so we're on the outside of the gate that was stuck in place. The neglected road is partly overgrown. You hear a river in the east, separated by the lush meadow. I feel like every step into the village weakens me more. I should return another day. So there's something wrong with this place. We don't know what yet. It's possible there was an attack. It's possible that there was some supernatural element. Nothing we can say yet, but we need to stay outside of it for the time being. You see a quenching family of boars, some of them brown, some of them black. You consider turning back, but they pay you little attention. After a couple grunts, they run north. The river's not too wide, yet unusually deep, with banks altered by the locals for decades, if not centuries. The water is cold yet clean. The water's cold and clean, yet filled with long plants growing at the bottom. You'd rather avoid jumping inside or drinking from it, but you're tempted to at least wash your face, neck, and hands. Dozens, if not hundreds, of small fish are looking for tasty leaves, but also trying to avoid their predators. A dance of life, completely unaware of your presence. You suddenly realize there's something else buried among the kelp. A rusty sickle sticking out of the ground, a couple stone axes and hoes. The wooden handles on a large wagon are covered with moss, but you recognize their shapes. Why would someone drop them here? The opposite bank, the meadow turns into a thick forest, impenetrable for a rider. Okay, so we could set up the... Yeah, you know what, we'll set up the fish trap. Might as well get something out of this. Place the basket on the ground, then grab a bowl, start digging, looking for larger worms, blah blah, etc. You attach the entire trap to a bush and push it into the stream far enough that it sinks entirely. Who knows how long it'll take before something large enough swims in. Still, it'd be better not to wait for too long, otherwise the prey may die of hunger. Alright, so we'll try waiting, see if we can... Okay, I can inspect the fish trap tomorrow or later. Interesting, because I kind of want to check the village out and see what's going on there. So many marks. But it sounds like I'll have to wait a bit to do that because whatever it is started making me sick. So, hard to tell exactly how long I'd have to wait, so let's try... We're not going to be running this stream for too much longer. Let us try waiting just a little bit and seeing what happens. We'll wait for half an hour. Okay, that didn't provide us with any new options. So we're not in bad shape. We're reasonably well fed. Yeah, let's try moving on. You enter the wetlands with their many streams, ponds, and fish. Large birds run and fly between the gray, sparse trees that are covered with moss, mushrooms, and critters. For a human, it may be an unwelcoming and harsh realm, but for the overwhelming swarms of insects proves that it's a realm full of life. The danger, with teeth and claws, is hidden below the water's surface. Stay away from the banks. This plant shouldn't be alive, not without leaves. It doesn't resemble the other trees of the wetlands. It's something else. You get off your horse and prepare your axe. The water is filled with dirt and dead plants, and it smells like an old corpse. The roots are spreading far, breaking the water's surface. You don't see any saurians in the grasses or on the shore. You approach the table-like altar made of 3 limestone slabs. Were these rocks originally as formless as they were now? Or was there a point in time, centuries ago, where they were precisely shaped and decorated by masters of artistry? There's no way to tell. Senior Bling Bling is peacefully observing the dark grass and slapping flies with its tail. Whatever it is that you feel in the air, it's clear that your companion sees this place through very different eyes. I smile, scratch the bottom of its neck. Go ahead, I'll look around for just a moment. You don't see any creatures, nor humans. There's clumped dirt in the uneven nicks, fused by years of winds and rains. The bottom surface of the table is dusty, but you don't find any spider webs or mold, even though it's a perfect spot for them. The tree roots cling to the altar in many spots. They're firmly attached. You struggle to move them even by an inch. The cream-colored limestone is cold and smooth. Oh, so I can make an offering here. What's your sacrifice? For example, food? Huh, okay. So yeah, this is some sort of religious or pagan altar of some kind. I'm not sure quite what I'm dealing with. Oop. See if I can back out. And you give nothing. Try something else. No, let's walk away. I don't think we should mess with this. This seems hard to tell if this would be beneficial or if us not knowing what we're doing would lead to disaster. You step cautiously. Without knowing how deep it gets, you have to consider that a saurian could be camouflaged in the mud, waiting for the victim to get near. Since you don't plan to kneel down and drink, you're hoping to dodge a potential strike. Once you get closer, you start breathing again. While the water is dirty, it's also shallow. You see the vegetation, swimming insects, and even small fish. All of them stay away from the tree roots, which look like a spider web covering the bottom of the pond. Aside from that, you don't see anything that would catch your attention. Weird altar next to a weird tree in the middle of the wilderness. Dangerous? No way. Yeah, again, that's kind of what's grabbing me about this, is that there's a lot of stuff about this world, some of which is explained if you ask the right people and, you know, talk around and gather information. Some of which you have to learn on the fly, and the game is not going to... It's not so much the game expects you to keep up, is that the game expects you to not know what you're doing and presents you with a situation where you are expected to make a judgment call based on what little information you have and what you can ascertain. So it's asking you to be very careful in this dangerous world. It actually reminds me a lot of Neo Scavenger, where it hasn't fully explained what's going on. And hey, Kirby, good to see you. Yeah, it hasn't fully explained what happened to the world, just that there are a variety of supernatural and post-apocalyptic things happening, and you're kind of expected to act with your own safety in mind above all else. So it's not expecting you to be a hero, it's expecting you to survive. Oh, don't mind if I do, thank you. We'll be wrapping up shortly, but yeah, I just wanted to poke around this area a bit more and see what's a little bit further down the road. This very much is a game where I kind of want to see what the next location holds. Okay. You in front of the one that's lying on the shore. When you touch it, it's moist, soft, and warmer than you'd expect. What do you try? Oh, so we have a variety of verbs we can try. So let's say, pull. The root doesn't resist your touch, and you can easily bend it. You hold it tightly, and your hands sink into it like it's a soft pillow. You feel its warmth. You start to pull, but with little to no effect, no matter how much strength you put into it. It's firmly held by something in the water, probably covered by the swamp's floor. The Hawks are going to the playoffs. Hey! Way to go, Seahawks. What else can we do to the root? We'll do an ASMR stream sometime. That might be fun. Anyway, let's see. Talk to the root. Either you can't do that, or I don't understand you. Fair enough. What else can we do to tree root? I have an idea. Cut. You pull out your knife, then stop in place. You can't tell what the results of wounding the tree would be. Square. Oh, I should do that. Okay, why not? We'll make the cut first, and then if that ends in disaster, which I'm sure it will, we'll square the root. The cut is swift, but the nimble root is difficult to hold. It backs down into the water, pulled by the rest of the creature, leaving a trail of red bubbles and mud. The water quiets down a few minutes later. A chunk of the root is still in your fingers, so you move it into a jar from your bundles. Your hand is now covered with a red, sticky goo, smelling like rusty nails and sweet fruits mixed with beer. You reach for a water skin and wash the plant's juices from your skin. Okay. No any creatures or humans. Interesting. You know what? Hang on a second. I have an idea. A weird root. A jar with a chunk you cut away from the tree growing at the altar. Okay, make an offering. A weird root. You put the tree's root on the altar, but nothing happens. Damn it! I'm sacrificing a part of you to yourself. You should be grateful. Alright, never mind. Alright, well, it doesn't let me square the route, so let's move on to the next stop. We'll check this next location and call it a night. So, north or south? Why not? We'll go north. You slow down. Among the shrubs, a small pack of dragonlings is feasting on the carcass of a grey auroch. One of them, with red feathers on its arm, straightens up and gives you a curious glance. Its head tilts left and right, forward and back. Due north 'cause Canadian. Well, there you go. It screeches back at you. Doesn't move forward. Returns to its meal. We wonder what would happen if you were on foot. Would they let you be, satisfied with their prey? Or would they run after you? But if so, for what reason? For now, you have enough space to move forward, yet stay safe. The powerful jaws break the monster's bones loudly, then bite off and swallow chunks of meat. I ride forward, but keep my distance and look over my shoulder. The beaten road serves your palfrey well. The forest to your left becomes sparse and brighter. There are dozens of human-made paths among the fruit-bearing trees. On your right, there's a large pasture, with at least a dozen massive mouflons. Well, there we go, there's the word for sheep again. 2 of them, already sheared, look comically small. Soon after that, you ride alongside vast, flourishing fields filled with rye, still green, preparing itself patiently for the second harvest. The path ends with a massive wooden gate. The stone wall, separating you from the glow of the lights behind it, isn't as tall as the roofs. You can't imagine climbing to its top. There are pretty much no cracks, no missing bricks, a sign of many hours' labor, especially considering how massive the settlement is, as wide as a city district. The birds and monkeys are now just a distant echo, replaced by the sounds of carts, running, hamsters, saws, laughter, and shouts. Yeah, maybe we can rest here. Man is leaning against a closed gate, covered by its shadow. He's young, tanned, and has a short, elegantly trimmed red beard. Beneath the green gambeson, he wears an expensive tunic decorated with colorful trim. From his arm hangs a steel helmet. The metal is so thin that it's mostly made of wool and leather. He moves into the light and takes on the posture of a disciplined soldier, not a mercenary. He's standing upright, with his chin up. There are 2 weapons on the ground, leaning on the wooden beams of the gate. An axe made of steel and a wooden club. He doesn't reach for either. You dismount smoothly, still having some vigor left. Senior Bling Bling holds his tail high. A narrow path leads forward, toward 2 field workers, one with a hoe and a pitchfork. They wave to you. You can't see their faces, but their clothes are simple. I wave back. Why not? They talk to you for a bit, looking towards you and pointing at your mount, then walk away, disappearing behind the wall's corner. The guard smiles, yet avoids your eyes, and has to clear his throat before he speaks. Welcome, traveler. If you're not here to make trouble, Howler's Den welcomes you. Again, we're spelling out the accent here. We have the whitest flower there is. When he bows, realize it's a well-practiced performance. If it's new garments you're looking for, you can order everything you need here, in all colors, shapes, and sizes. Capes, boots, vests, robes, or if you're yourself a master of the needle, I can assure you we have the fabric you're looking for. His act is over, and he glances at your mount in a moment of silence. His eyes get wider as he observes it with childlike fascination. I say, sir, you're a new Roadwarden. I want to see your mayor. The city folk, aye? The mayor is busy, but I'll ask her. Give us a moment to let you in. He knocks at the gate, which is then pulled inward by 2 other guards, a man and a woman, wearing their own gambesons. The nearby buildings are made of simple houses made of wooden beams and covered with thatch, while the storehouse is even more modest, with a roof made of planks. The watchtower has a ladder made of ropes and sticks, no stairs. Just give me a moment. The guard strides away before he finishes the last word. Sorry, throat's getting a bit dry here. The others close the gate behind you and observe your mount carefully. Your eyes run east, to a humming creek running through the center of the village. Calming sound, eh? That's Howler's Creek. The guard, like most of the locals, is taller than you. Wide but shallow. There's never been a flood in years. Pa told me there used to be nae bridges. Neighbors crossed it with their boots in their hands. And 'tis clean, like a raindrop, but there nae many fish. We're the cleanest village in the north, her companion chuckles brightly. When the guard returns, he's still alone. She can nae come now. A friend of mine is in labor, aye? The mayor wants to be there when the child arrives, but I was asked to show you the village. Approaches the watchtower. Tie your mount here. We'll keep the kids away. Most of the neighbors getting ready to celebrate. Alright. Even though the ladder swings in all directions, the guard gets to the top quickly, like a monkey climbing up creepers. You, on the other hand, need to stop and wait for the ladder to calm itself. When you join the man on the wooden platform, you're a bit dizzy. He's leaning on the wooden parapet, observing the area with a smile. See? This night place like the Howler's Dell. The guard points in every direction, giving you no time to contemplate. For the next few minutes, he describes the fields and their crops, the flocks and the pastures, and the shepherds inspecting the fences, the ancient garden of trees and bushes, larger than the village itself, the sunlight dancing on the streams to its own tune. If you're to believe everything he describes, this place has access to everything in abundance. The sweetest honey, the most fragrant bread, the softest wool, and the beer, it's excellent. He sounds like a city merchant who's trying to sell an old house. So, yeah. Near Hollowvan, you could find five larger and richer settlements in less than 2 days. Yeah, it sounds very pastoral and nice, and it's hard to tell if he's buttering us up for something or if this is just genuinely how he feels. Yeah, we'll play along, why not? The islet in the middle connects both parts of the village. According to the man, the northern gate is hardly ever open, as it leads to nowhere now. Near the eastern gate, there's the Ape Ale Inn, we've heard that name before, where you can find a ben and victuals. And there's the stall where Akakios rewards our work, so it must be... Is that some kind of local pagan deity or something? On the other opposite side of the creek, there's another white house. It belongs to Bion, the best clothier in the north. The priests live in the southeast near the wall. They do not talk to strangers. You also hear about the hunter, the cooper, the fisher, the miller. The pie maker lives with his sister, the baker. The smith and her husband, the carpenter, live with the kids. Some of the larger buildings could accommodate 2, maybe 3 generations at once. There could be more than 100 dwellers here. Consider stopping his speech, but he suddenly points at the islet again. There, see? The mayor's coming, the one wearing purple. You're free to join her, traveler. You try to get down quickly, but 2 steps are enough to make you sure that's a bad idea. You wait for the ladder to find its balance. You're relieved when you touch the ground again. You untie... Where's the candlestick maker? Yeah, no kidding. Forgot that in the list. Follow the guard. You pass a small pasturage surrounded by a wooden fence, a few loose chickens, and a tethered boar. The fancier buildings are covered with whitewashed coating, surrounded with vegetables, herbs, and flowers. The bridges are wide enough to carry even a wagon, but for Senior Bling Bling, walking on the wooden beams is far from pleasant. The islet is empty. You notice an empty stall, painted with the shapes of colorful flowers. Along the entire path, you notice more and more people, observing you, smiling, or casually greeting you as they're focused on their own tasks. Finally, you reach the main square. A large tree grows in the center, surrounded by dark water, held together by a thin wall, perfect for sitting. The smell coming from the liquid makes you think of rotten eggs. The plant reminds you of the tree you saw in the south, next to the swamp altar. Ah, interesting. In the north, you see the Ape Ale Inn. Judging by the tables, stools, and benches outside of it, it's open for guests. Let's see, blah, 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 blah. Need a spot to tether Senior Bling Bling. There's a wide wooden roof right next to the gate that shelters carts, crates, and sacks. You move your mount next to a donkey to a beam placed there just for this purpose. Without a moment of hesitation, Senior Bling Bling starts to chew on the nearby haystack. You have some time to make sure it doesn't struggle with your bundles. You return to the inn. Alright. She's sitting on a chair with a 4-year-old boy at her knees. I'm talking to the mayor now. She's holding his hand gently, showing him how to eat gruel from a bowl. It's not a cheap meal, though. You spot nuts, berries, and milk, and the added honey makes it yellowish. The kid is clean and quiet, and once he notices your arrival, he crams his mouth with a spoonful of oats. Now, love, the mayor titters. Danae get distracted. She rubs the meal off his face. A few more spoons and you go to help Papa in the kitchen, eh? She gives you a radiant, though apologetic smile, then turns her attention back to her companion. Her long, full-sleeved linen dress must have been dyed once in blue and once in red to achieve its dark, fancy purple, which would draw looks even in Hovalavan. From her left shoulder hangs a green woolen cape, as thin as a shawl. The brown belt on her waist has a large steel buckle that portrays a running deer with unrealistically large antlers growing in all directions like tree branches. Unlike her tribesfolk, she's pale, with powdered and rouged cheeks, and her lips to match her outfit, though they're a bit closer to wine red. The thick, gray strands in her long blonde hair look more like a fashion choice than the result of aging. Her eyes are the color of her cape, keen and vigorous. She's shorter than most of the people around, though would still be the tallest woman in most of the northern settlements. While she's around 40, her slim hands add fragility to her appearance, even though her posture is upright, her legs confidently crossed, and her delicate voice assertive. She makes plenty of gestures, but her shoulders hardly ever move. Let's see. Roadwarden again, please sit down. You know what, we will call it there. This sounds like it'll be a fairly long conversation as we introduce ourselves and get more information. But, yeah, I like this game. I like a lot of what it's doing. I really want to know more about the world and the various different things that can happen based on what your character decides, what their role in the story is, what their goals are. Oh, thank you, Kirby. I appreciate that. They're doing a really interesting thing here, which is they're presenting a world where there's not really a singular story focus so much as a set world that you navigate through, and you sort of have goals around that, but there's no real one singular goal besides do your job as a road warden. Yeah, story's extensively branching, and I kind of like that. I've always kind of wanted a game where you're navigating a stock fantasy environment, but it doesn't escalate into some epic quest. It's just kind of your job to move from town to town doing quest-ish things, but it's not about some kind of grand story. It's just a normal day of adventure in this unpredictable world, and this is hitting that to a T in a way that I really, really like. But yeah, I really like this a lot. I would highly recommend it. Definitely gonna get back to this at some point. But, yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. I appreciate you spending the time. I appreciate the people that have recommended to this. Miss, you were definitely one of them. A few others have sang its praises as well, and I can see why. It's definitely the kind of game where you kind of need to get into the fiction of the world. You need to engage with the setting. You need to be interested in peeling back the mysteries of the world and matching that against your mundane necessities, but there's something fascinating about that I really like. Hinamori, I think we can do that. Yeah, sure. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a good night. Back to Dying Light on Saturday, but until then, see you next time.